Yeah. Uh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of River City 93. It's your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and is joining me is my good man, Matt Myers, who's more or less taking the Thanos approach of getting the number one seed after Greenville, Union Omaha decides they can't do games. Madison decides to crap the bed, and Chattanooga decides, well, maybe we'll score some goals. Also joining me is Shanair, who's a little upset and mad because the kickers decide to let it go in and then to turn the Thanos themselves and win games. So we have it balanced. I think that's the term of everything that Thanos did is like everything has to be equally balanced. So we'll see. But yeah, we have a game to talk about, guys, after we took the week off. How are y'all?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Another win under the belt. And so far, things going somewhat favorably for us with the other results. So, top of the league.
Top of the league. Till about 10 o'clock, and then we'll see. For those who don't know, we're recording this game like 2 hours before Union Omaha plays Tucson, so we don't know the result of that game. So,
we know the result of that game.
We kind of know the result. We just don't know the score.
Sure. I want to hold out some help. I want to hold out some hope. Like, maybe Tucson can pull off the upset. You know, like, look, college football was Saturday, and we had massive upsets. Like, Marshall beat Notre Dame. What was it? Baylor beat BYU. Nebraska lost to Georgia Southern, which we all saw coming, which is very funny. I don't know if anyone knows this, but like Union Omaha is probably the best team in Nebraska because Nebraska lost to Georgia Southern, who shares a field with South Georgia Tormenta, who's never beat Union Omaha. Full circle.
How you leaving out App State beating A&M? Come on.
Oh, right. That's another one. I forgot about that one. Yeah, App State beating A&M. So I want to hold out hope. Maybe Tucson can just, if there's one game Tucson wins this year, it's this one. Who knows?
Sure.
I'm probably the only person. Shoot, there's probably people in Tucson that probably think they're going to lose tonight. God, I'm probably the only person that's like rooting for Tucson.
If we're keeping the Marvel theme up, isn't what's her name? MJ in the last Spider-Man one talking about never get your hopes up so you can't get disappointed.
I mean, yes, that is also true.
Yeah.
That is also true. Well, a result that didn't let our hopes up: Richmond 3, Tormenta 1. Guys, this team, I think we've all admitted this team is special. This team is going places. You get to see how the season goes out. As I think, was it the top 3 seeds right now? Richmond, Greenville, and Union Omaha still have games to play against each other. But Richmond right now got one hand on the driver's seat, right?
One hand.
Yeah, one hand.
Yeah, I mean Omaha's still right there with us, so it's still completely in the kickers' own control. If they win out, their first place, no matter what else happens. But Omaha is also right there, which makes it for a very interesting next match, which we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that. Yeah, like you said, man, we'll get to that one later. But I think what we're starting off with Richmond, and it's definitely in this game. I think this game started off with a shaky start. And I mean, look, we talked about it a bunch this year so far, sometimes how the kickers start off a little bit shaky, not on the best of footing. We gave him a penalty kick. I mean, let me take that back. We started off great. We had the chance in the first minute, led to a free kick. And then plays that kind of started to balance out. We give up a penalty kick right around, the 10th minute. And at first, I thought it was Stewie who came with the penalty kick, and I was all pissed and mad. And then, when a player you really like is on him, you're like, oh, he didn't really mean that.
Is this really?
Oh, we didn't mean that.
Wait, so is this a revelation that you've turned on Stu?
No, I haven't turned
You're
on
your
Stu,
Calvo now?
but I was pissed. I was pissed. I was like, Stu, you can't do that. And then when I saw his belongings, I was like, oh, he didn't mean that. It's okay. It's okay, buddy.
So just because he's in the running for MVP, Bolaños gets a pass on that one.
He
I
is the teacher's pet.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't view it that way. I here's the thing. Everyone's human. Bolaños was sloppy with that tackle. That was very sloppy.
Yeah, no,
at
it
the
was
end of the day.
very sloppy. Didn't need to happen. I don't think we need to really talk about the penalty kick because it didn't. It goes against the goalkeepers anyway. I think what Akira's penalty record is 0-3 or 0-4. I feel like it's in that range right now.
This year I think it's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever.
Yeah. So.
And to be honest with you, even if he had picked the right way to go, that was hit with some pace. I don't know if he would have gotten there.
No, that was extremely good. PK took it there, but after that, I'm not gonna lie. Like I was nervous the first half, and I'm pretty sure you guys were as well. It just felt like that penalty kind of kicked us in the mouth, and we kind of stumbled to get across to the first half line.
I mean, we've seen this story a few times this year already. For whatever reason, it's not unusual for the kickers to give up a first half goal at home. Not necessarily struggle, but not take a full grasp of the game either until right before halftime or just after halftime. So having that 30, 35, even up to 40 minutes of whether you want to call it feeling the other team out, whether you want to call it not finding the game yet. That just depends on optimist, pessimist side of things. But then I never once had the feeling that, there's no way they're going to score against this team. Full belief you get it done. I mean, obviously you'd rather have them find it sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I had never had to worry about will they be able to get one back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the same feeling I had as well. Shanir, you might be a little bit different. You were in the chat like, here we go again.
No, I mean, for me, it was a situation of, I think this is the second or third home game where they've come from behind to win. Just that.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you had the North Carolina game. Let's see, the Tucson game you had, this game. There's been a few. There's been a few where we had to come behind.
Yeah, there have been quite a few games where, the kickers have started slow, let a goal in, and then on literally came from behind to win the game. It's one of those situations where it's like, can you stop making it hard? Can you stop finding the hard way through? Like, just can you just give us an easy route win? Stop trying to give us heart attacks.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I mean, there were a couple of your heart got stuck in your throat moments within the first half. Like,
yeah,
what was it? The 41st minute when that ball hits off the crossbar. I mean, it hits off the post, and if that ball is like half an inch inside, like you're looking at 2-0 now. You're like, all right. Like now, probably at that point I was probably thinking, but outside of that moment, there wasn't really much else to take away from the first half. I do think. Well, let me step back up. I do think there's two things to take away. I think Tormento was doing a great job of forcing Richmond to go long, but they weren't allowing the normal line breakers. They weren't allowing Neil and Ethan to get loose in 5 pockets to just pass. They were forcing Zaka and Jalen to be the progressive passers, which that's not Zaka's strength. And we know Jalen, he's looking for the long ball to Bolaños, but they were cutting off that option for him.
Yeah,
I think Tormento was doing a good job with that, and they were just, pretty much, Shanir, like you pointed out before when we played Tucson during that 4-1 game, about, all right, they're just going to just tuck in deep and just force us to kind of break them down.
Yeah. I think there was a little bit of that as we were starting to get as we started the second half. The Tormenta looked like they were just going to try and escape with either 1 point or two, or one goal lead, or if we were to sneak one, they'd be happy with getting out of there with a point. That's what it just looked like that. They didn't start off looking like they were intending to create anything much in the second half, and I think that just invited the pressure. And with the talent that the Kickers have this season, and with the way the talent has been working very well together, it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of time before the Kickers finally broke through. And I think South Georgia's defense is a little too frail to be parking the bus and thinking they can hold out for an entire half.
Well, I think they're. I would
go ahead,
say
man. My bad.
I would say they would have been better off trying to more classically park the bus, and I think that's a strategy that would probably work for a lot more teams against the Kickers, because we've seen it time and time again. The offense works best as a counterattacking unit. Being able to really push forward, not break you down, death by a million cuts. It's more of a quick stab to the gut sort of approach. So if you're parking it in, you're going to make the midfield have to try to unlock something, which they're capable of. But what's the bread and butter? The bread and butter is Spreen, Bolaños, Spreen, Bentley, Gordon, Decker, whomever it might be, and then letting them get a one-on-one and find Emmy or find a trailing runner right there. So I think the Kickers were able to pull them out a little bit more, and when you look at the goals, really kind of suggests exactly that.
Yeah, no, that's very much true. And I mean, Shanair, like we were talking about earlier, like Tormenta's been one of the best road teams in USL League One right now, with 7 wins and two wins on the road back to back coming off of. So I think to their credit, it was kind of just like, all right, score early and park the bus, and force Ethan and Neil to have to pass back to Zaka and Jalen and force them to pass the ball. Which, to their credit, the first half it was working. It was frustrating the Kickers and forcing them not to play uncharacteristically, but forcing them to go to another option. But even within that, I still felt comfortable. Like, all right, if Darren makes a couple of tweaks here and there just to get Ethan or Neil open, it's going to unlock this whole team. And we saw that going into the second half. The other thing that I don't know if you guys caught this at all, but I saw it up there in the press box. This is probably the game where I was probably the most frustrated with Ethan Vandercourt Decker, just because of a lot of times when the ball would get chipped out to him. And I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it just felt as if like he didn't run as hard to try to get to the ball. Like it was kind of one of those things where he kind of knew, like, all right, I can get there, but the ball looked like it's going out. I'm just gonna play it out. You can kind of see there was one moment where him and Darren had, let's say, a strong conversation about Ethan Vandercourt Decker not chasing down for a ball like Bolaños.
Yeah.
So I mean, outside the first half, that's everything that I'm talking about. I actually thought like they were going to take EVD off and put like Bentley or Gordon in at that point, just to really get behind Tormenta's defense, who was sitting there behind. But they didn't. And that's it. So, any other thoughts about the first half, guys, before we, move
on? Not really. The things were looking a little scary, but like you said, Matt, it still looked like we didn't look toothless. We really didn't look toothless as this game started to progress. And even in the first half, after the goal, we didn't look toothless. It looked like something was coming.
Yeah, it did. Very much. But going into the second half, I think the Kickers did a much better job. And I think one of the biggest improvements they made, like I talked about, was move the ball quicker. They weren't just sitting on the ball as much. They were very much trying to move the ball to the field. For instance, like if you go look at the second goal, it's a total of 6 touches before Bolaños gets the ball in the back of the net.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
No. I know. I'm just saying, like, I've used that as an example.
Yeah.
The first goal, which now, God, I got to replay these goals in my head.
See, this is what I was saying. Don't get ahead of yourself here.
Right. Was an excellent goal. I still trying to figure out how what is the South Georgia Tormented defender doing there? Because you would think like either you just kick that ball out and force Richmond to just have a throw it further up the field, or kick that ball out of bounds. Instead, he kind of just looks at it, and Bolaños just takes it off of him.
Well, yeah, I mean, to paint a little bit clearer picture, in case you don't have a perfect memory of it, or you missed the game, you haven't seen the highlights, whatever the case may be. This whole play started off a throw-in. Probably just on the kicker's side of midfield, and the initial throw was nothing special. It wasn't like it was a Nathan Audig long throw, looking for a goal. It was, I think, Stu throwing the ball.
Yeah, it was just a throw to
looping it over, somebody trying to find Bolaños, and the ball bounces, and it bounces in front of a tormented defender. And that's the point where Elliott's talking about he doesn't understand what was going on there, and what happens, because it looks like the tormented defender should have all the choice in the world of what to do with it, and he chooses nothing. And Bolaños is able to squeeze himself in there, get the ball and turn out, and next thing we know, 1-2 touches, 2 dribbles later, playing a through ball for Emmy, and look, we don't see a ton of through balls for Emmy because he's good at a lot of things. He's not Bolaños fast, right? Usually we see the through balls for Bolaños, we see the through balls for Gordon or somebody, but you give him that kind of space right there, and delivering him the ball in the box one-on-one, you're banking on that goal every single time, and sure enough, 1-1.
Right, and outside, I think the best thing about this goal is the way how Emmy shapes his body up to go for our pros. Because this ball is on his weaker left foot, and you can see the way how the goalkeeper shaped it up was like, all right, he's going to have to shoot this near post, so let me, position myself for it. And it just further proves the point that Emmy is the best striker in USL League One, because in the midst of him running, he shapes his body up beautifully to let this ball across to the far post. And sitting in the press box and watching that, it just further cements the point.
Yeah. Going back to the initial pass from Bolaños, I mean, this is a clear case of the midfielder. What was his name? Otieno. Otieno lets the ball bounce in front of him, and when a ball is in the air, that's like a big no. No bounce. You do not let it bounce when something's coming out of the air. Either a goal kick coming out hoofed long, a clearance, sometimes even a corner kick. You don't want to let that first bounce happen, because usually when you let that first bounce happen, there's a possibility that you lose the ball. And in that situation, he literally allowed that ball to bounce. There isn't a lot of forward momentum on that ball, so the bounce is going to be awkward. And that awkwardness, Bolaños just capitalizes on it, just steps in front, says thank you very much, and he's gone. So this is a big mistake from Otieno, leading to the goal.
Yep, pretty much so. And at that point, it's 1-1. And I got to say, after that, it was pretty much Richmond's way, probably all the way up until maybe the 78th minute. Going to the second goal, the goal that I was talking about, which really showed like Richmond was being a lot sharper on the ball. I mean, you look at it starts off from the Kara free kick to Ethan Bryan, who plays probably one of the best balls we've seen in City Stadium. I'm not trying to like.
Oh my goodness!
It's a beautiful ball to play into space. Like, this is the kind of pass you show to dumb kids that want to play midfield. And when we say like pass into space, this is what we mean.
Line breaking passes.
Right.
Like, I think you're. I mean, that. I was gonna say, I think you're underselling, why it was so quality though, because it's the first touch. I think even more so than the actual pass.
Well, see, yeah. I fell over the pass. You're right. The first touch of it was good as well. His first touch is really good. But I mean, that's one of the rare opportunities in the game that he had like a time to really play that kind of ball because Tormentor was tight with him the entire game.
Well, that's the thing. He didn't have the time or space. That's why it was so
Exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I
Yeah,
guess
that ball.
Shanir, you want to paint the picture for listeners?
Yes. So this is a ball coming out from Akira in the air, and literally Ethan Bryant brings that ball down with his chest, but the direction in which he brings it down with his chest is away from the defender, like literally cuts the defender off with that first touch off his chest. And literally, he's still somewhat facing Akira where he hooks his body around to make that pass. And when you say line breaking pass, he broke like 3 lines with that pass. So I mean, I got big ups to Ethan Bryant for that pass. That was amazing.
Yeah, no, it really was amazing to play that ball into Stu. The cool thing about this, if you watch Bolaños is pointing like, I want it here. I want it like right here in the middle of the box. And Stu, just to put that ball right there for him with what I think it was either Phelps. I think it was Phelps. Slide try to get in there to cut the ball off. But for Bolaños, and I think the thing that we've talked about, Matt, that we've really harped on with Bolaños is his ability to finish those one-on-one chances. And he finished it. Finished it with good style.
Yeah, and about 5 minutes before that, he actually had one of those one-on-ones where somebody had slipped him through, and the keeper made a good save on it. But there's a little bit of that same thing we've seen time and time again this year, where if he was just a little bit better finisher, he'd be right up there in the battle for second place in the league in goals.
Yeah. And that's one thing you do think about with Bolaños, and that's probably like where some scouts are probably looking at like, his finishing. Man, you got to think like if he finished off maybe 3 of those one-on-one chances, you're right. He's right there in the midst of almost having like a double-digit season in goals and assists.
Yeah, so I mean, glad that he was able to finish. This one off is a good one-touch finish. It probably wasn't the hardest pass that Stu's ever had to make, but he still put it in the exact right spot that he needed to, so that Bolaños could hit it perfectly in stride as well. And at that point, keeper just has to hope it hits him because not much else he can do.
Yeah, very much sure. Very much sure. So at that point, I forgot my train of thought for a second. But at that point, we're 2-1.
What did you think of this week's celebration? You had some criticism for the celebration last week.
It was better. He didn't dance. It was much better. I'm proud of him. I'm still working on it. Got better. I will say this: we did have a couple of shaky moments, but I think Akira did a really good job on the free kick around the 78th minute mark. Really good job on that free kick save there.
That wasn't the hardest free kick to save, but it wasn't easy, and it was hit with some serious pace, and Akira, gets his hand there, and Akira does what Akira does best,
I mean, the big thing with that one was that it was a foul that was as on the edge of the box as it possibly could have been, without it being a penalty. So, Ani got turned a little bit and he took the guy out. And I was worried that, the ref was going to give it a penalty anyway because, everybody's momentum carried, forward into the box. I was pretty sure it was outside the box. I was more worried that, she was going to pull a red, on him at that point, which I thought would have been a little harsh, but could have seen it. I just feel like it probably isn't reality, but it feels like we've just been victimized by free kicks so often, that I was scared to death at that moment. But like you said, maybe it wasn't the hardest save of all time, but that was also because of really good positioning by Akira in that moment. Where when you're that close to the box, it's a little bit hard to go up and over the wall and get it back down. So Akira was right at one of the only other spots that Cabral could hit it to, and he did his job.
Yeah. No, he did. He very much did a job, and I think, God.
Yeah. There's another one a few minutes later too that scared me, and thankfully they put it over.
Oh yeah, well that one I didn't feel too. I didn't feel as if that one was going to go in. I don't know why. I just did it, but the 70th minute one, I think the thing that made it so special is because like that's a typical Akira save, like that very like reactionary save.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a very Akira type save. Yeah. So that's a positive of that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gordon came on and he changed the entire complexity of this game. Like
Yes.
he flipped this game on his head, man, and Tormenta had no answer for him at all.
No, he made a nuisance of himself. His movement on the ball, he was drawing a lot of defenders to him, leaving a lot of guys wide open. We actually got a chance, I think, off of some of his dribbling, but which led to nothing. But he's getting to the point now where he's starting to be smarter with his taking on players. He'll take someone on, get past them, draw some more defenders in who are panicked after he's beaten one guy, and once the draw is fully in play, then he looks for that outlet, and he's starting to do that more and more. Whereas before, he would be dribbling, he'd take a player on, he'd dribble, draw defenders in, and try and take them on 1v, however many. He's starting to be a lot smarter with his play, which I really like.
Yeah, he is. And he's showing why he is that change of gear pace person, that Olex was last year kind of for us so much more. And I think Darren is trusting O'Gordon a little bit more just because he does try back defensively, but he's also contributing in our offensive stake as well. Give or take, the last goal to happen, and then what the count is a 90+4, 94th minute. I asked Matt before the podcast, and I want to hear your take on this. Do you think it was a foul over Gordon? Do you think he kind of threw a little bit extra more in there?
I think it's one of those situations that if the ref doesn't give it, you wouldn't be too upset. But the ref does have the right to give that. And this is one of those situations, don't put the decision in the ref's hands, in my opinion. And in that situation, South Georgia put the decision in the ref's hands.
Yeah, it just felt as if like in that moment, it was kind of weird just to see like the entire team just kind of just stop and just look at the ref. And you see Bolaños just kind of crisscross the goalkeeper and put the ball in there. But this is the thing. That chance would have never happened if Luke, which I love him, goes into the corner and actually holds on to the ball. I don't understand how Luke lost the ball in the corner.
I mean, he's not the biggest guy.
And Phelps is a big dude.
And then he like took the ball.
I thought you were going to say never would have happened if Luke just went to goal and shot himself,
which should have happened as well. Should have happened.
No, see, Luke's seen it in like 3D chess style, and you're just playing checkers here.
He did. Oh man,
but no, the goal was a little weird though, because even in the stands, we were all kind of wondering like, wait, is this real? Is this counting? Because I think you're underselling how little the Tormenta defenders put in an effort once Gordon stole the ball. Like Bolaños literally ran through two of them that were standing just a few feet apart from each other, like they were.
Nobody picked up Bolaños. Oh, I forgot who else was in the box. It was another kicker's running in the box, but like literally the Tormenta's players, like when the foul happened, looked at the ref and just stood there. It was like are you going to call this? And I think
you got to play to the whistle. In that situation, you got to play to the whistle. And to be honest with you, this is one of those situations where, sometimes you look at certain plays and you're like, oh, well, ref, that was a foul. And at the end of the day, you got to think about this. What kind of dumb decision led to that altercation? In this situation, number 47 for
It doesn't matter who it is.
yeah, his turn is what kills him. In that situation, first off, Phelps does a fantastic job of when he wins the ball
Luke.
off of Luke, he gives that kind of that legal body check to create space for him to be able to turn and slot that ball out. Now that wide player, I can't tell who exactly it was off of because I didn't see it live. I watched it on TV. He makes a good turn inside and finds number 47. Number 47 just needs to take a touch upfield, and he's away from pressure and able to look and find another option. He takes a turn back. Now, one of the first signalers for almost any team for a high press is a touch backwards. So he invited Bolaños and O'Gordon to run at him. They smelled blood with that terrible touch. That first touch going backwards, it's like trying to take the long way to turn around. And I mean, at the end of the day, he set himself up for that. He kind of turned into Gordon, and not really Gordon going in on him. Gordon just got there, and he turned right into him. And I mean, set himself up for that. You could see that the players stopped, but you don't really see that situation of the Tormenta players charging the ref down after the goal goes in, like upset at the situation that he didn't call a foul. So a lot of them kind of knew that wasn't a foul. So I don't understand why everyone stopped.
Yeah, I guess it was just such a good play. They were just like, you know what? Let's give Bolaños another goal. Give him a brace and an assist for the day.
Yeah. Bolaños really definitely did make up for the sloppy for the sloppy tackle.
Oh yeah, hey, he made up for it with the first goal.
Yeah,
he made up for it. But guys, real quick, with all this being said, the game finishes 3-1. Richmond only has 2 home games left against Fuego, and then
2 regular season home games left. Let's be clear.
Okay, regular season games left. You're right. 2 regular season games left against Fuego and Greenville at the end of mid-October. Got a couple of records that are still on the line. We can still have back the best winning record at home. So that's still up for play. Terzaghi, my bad. Terzaghi is still on pace to break his own record of 18 goals in a season. And he's still on track, give or take, if he finishes with 20, which I did call. He's close to it. I think he can either – I think 21 is the club record for a season, so he's close to that, which could obviously happen. Bolaños now is tied for the all-time record in assists in a season with 10. If you go back to 2019, remember Arturo Rodriguez and the season he had then. And he's 3 away from breaking the the club's assist record, which is 12. I can't remember who had 12. But
Ruben Espinosa in 96, I think it was.
Yes,
wow.
That's who it was. Nathan told me, but I couldn't remember who the player name was. So yeah, still a lot of records up for grabs. You know, and as they even talking about the potential MVP choice of Bolaños or Terzaghi. So it all happens.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think they are both making a very good case for league MVPs. In terms of kickers MVP, like the voted for with regards to kickers players, even that situation, it's really hard to decide between the two. Yes, Terzaghi is scoring goals, but Bolaños' presence when he is undeniable, and it's one of those situations you're looking at and you're like, wow, this is the type of situation you want to be in, you know. It's one of those.
You want to be in as a team, but it's not hard for me. It's Bolaños. The man has played 15 games this year. 15. He scored or assisted in those 15 games. Like he's averaging a goal or assist in every game.
Yeah, and also you gotta. I also with situations like that like to look at the intangibles. When he is not playing, you can see the difference. His absence is more noticed than any other player on that team.
Well, to be fair, we haven't seen this team without Terzani, like starting the game without Terzani. So that's
true. That is true.
Me personally, and Matt, I want to hear your opinion on this as well. I think I presented the place of why Bolaños with it. I just think like what Bolaños is doing this year and the potential of having like that double-digit assist and goals record. I mean, not record, but season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very, very. I think that's top notch. I think that's a case for MVP. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think. So 6 games left. Assuming things don't go off the rails, really fall apart. It seems likely that Bolaños is in the pole position. If Emmy scores another 5 goals, hits 20. We know that a lot of places really like to give the top goal scorer the top honors as well. So I wouldn't be stunned. I wouldn't be disappointed either. And I think both of those guys would much rather win the league than win MVP. So there's that. I think the biggest thing working in both their advantage is, the other two, top level teams in this league, Omaha and Greenville. There's really not an obvious attacking option choice for them. Like Omaha has, you say Nuhu, if you want to put a goalkeeper into it, but let's be real, it's not going to be a defensive based player winning MVP.
No.
In the league. People like highlight reels and they're like counting stats too much to have any realistic expectation that it's going to be, someone one of those roles. And Greenville has Labovich, but he just had one hot month and he's kind of fallen back since then. I guess if you want to make an argument for like Sterling at Tormenta, I could see a third place argument there, but they got to make the playoffs to even have that even be halfway viable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got to make the playoffs. So you had that happen, and a couple of other results kind of went our way. I think more or less we know that we should never ever count on Fort Madison doing their job because Fort Madison had 2 cracks at Greenville and Union Omaha and crapped the bed twice there.
Yeah, they got us a draw against Greenville.
Yeah, but I needed to win, and I hate to say that. I mean, Charlotte got a win, which was good.
I'll take draw still. Draw are fine. It's still a -2 for whomever.
Yeah. So that's a positive. Let's go ahead. Let's preview Wednesday's upcoming game against Union Omaha. We got the potential of winning another season series, which would be very, very good. And this could also be a very potential important game for that number 1 seed. I would like to.
I don't think it's potential important game. I think it is important game.
Well, yes.
Yeah, I think it's a major decider, probably most likely not mathematically, but psychologically.
Is it a driving place for that 1 seed?
Exactly. That one team is in the driver's seat
against. Because you imagine if Union Omaha beats Tucson tonight, they'll
be on 43.
Yeah, they'll go to 43, and then they quote unquote win Wednesday. They'll go to 47.
46,
Maybe 46, my bad. 5-point gap there, which would be hard given the games left. I mean, anything can happen, but you got to imagine Union Omaha will be favored there. Now, on the first side of that, if Union Omaha go out here and lose against Tucson and then lose against us, you kind of favor us a little bit more, given that game at hand to Greenville.
Yeah. I'm looking at this one against Omaha as I'm happy with to get out of there with a draw. Like a loss,
me too.
Probably make it tough to be able to finish first. A draw would be status quo. Realistically, will still be 2 points behind Omaha, but that's almost certainly the toughest game left on the calendar for the Kickers. So not doing harm in that game, I think, is the biggest key takeaway. And they've got their janky baseball field, which I don't think is going to play into the style that this team likes to be able to utilize, because there's just no space to run into. So I think you go in there, hope to be able to win, draw, totally cool, totally fine.
Yeah. How are you imagine this team lining up, given that they also have another game on Saturday coming up? So I'm imagining they'll probably won't fly back to Richmond just to fly back out to Chattanooga. I'm pretty sure they'll probably fly straight to Chattanooga. So how is Darren going to kind of manage this roster given these 2 games?
I mean, I think he's going to play what he thinks is his best team on Wednesday and then deal with it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you think center back pair, you think it'd be any change there, or pretty much we'll see the same 11 we saw against Tormenta?
I mean, part of that depends on if Dakota's available, right? Because he was the noticeable absence from the team. This last game, he wasn't in the 18 at all. So hopefully it's not anything too serious. But Darren's also showed a propensity for if something's working, don't mess with it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very much true. Shanir, anything for you, my friend? Or
I would say much of the same. Like Matt said, it's that Darren is seems to be in the school of a thought of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I would put forth the same team. They've had a full week, put them in, and kind of mix and match and chop and change what you need to chop and change for Saturday against Chattanooga. It would be tough. It would be a tough game. So that lets me know that he's going to have to travel with a very thought out squad, because that same squad needs to be heading to Chattanooga. I don't think they're going to be coming back to Richmond to then go to Chattanooga. So there needs to be maybe a sense of basically those guys that you see on the bench against Union Omaha are going to be the players that will be available to swap out whoever needs to be swapped out for Chattanooga.
maximum level of points you would like to see? I know we would like to see 2 draws, but realistically, how many points would you like to see out of this mini road trip going to 2 tough places in USL League One in Union Omaha and Chattanooga?
I mean, the maximum points I'd like to see is 6, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, that's what I said. We would love to see 6, but
yeah.
What
Well,
do
you asked what the maximum number of points I'd like to see is. It's 6.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, I think the minimum that we could get away with, I think we would need to get one of these 2 games needs to be a win for me to be sure that, all right, we've got number 1 seed on lock. If we go away with 2 draws, we could probably still hold on to number 1 for a while, but it will still keep things extremely close and too close for comfort for me.
I mean, I'm not expecting to be number 1 going into Wednesday, so there's that to begin with.
Yeah.
Look, if the team wins both of these games, there's the possibility that they could clinch, playoff berth by Saturday night / Sunday morning, because Charlotte plays the late game out at Fuego that night. That's if everything else breaks exactly right, at that point. So we're getting there. Again, that would involve 2 road wins and 2 pretty tough places to play, including Chattanooga, which has been just a nightmare fuel place. But hey, North Carolina's been a nightmare fuel place until earlier this year, where the team flipped the script on them. So maybe this is the time to put the foot down and you'll be able to showcase what this team can be able to do, and start to take a strong hold on a home, not only a home game but a bye in the first round.
Right. It can happen, man. It can happen. Me personally, I don't think 2 draws kills you because I think an important team to keep an eye on is NOCO because they play Union Oma and Greenville back to back. Like we said, anything can happen. And if you've watched NOCO in any parts of this year, you know how volatile that team is. They can win a game that they're not supposed to win, and they'll lose a game they're not supposed to lose. So,
next Saturday, not only are we playing Chattanooga, but Omaha, plays Greenville as well. So they have a massive homestand for them too. So just like it's a huge week for us, it's a potentially even bigger week for them because those home games are ones that at the beginning of the year you're counting on getting points from.
Yeah, very much so. It can happen any which way, guys, any which way. But I think this is a good way for us to put a nice little bow on it. Matt, as you always remind me, anything I'm forgetting?
Probably.
Player rating.
Yeah, player ratings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The infamous player ratings. Let's go ahead.
Infamous.
Well, not infamous, but they're great at everything. By the way,
that sounded convincing.
Well, we got to figure out a trophy for who wins this.
I mean, we can figure that out. That's not hard.
Get them a big gold chain. You know how you have a chain in college football? Like a big gold River City 93 chain and be like, we voted for you every week. That's how good you are.
Golden headphones. Since it's a podcast.
Yeah, that's what we should do. Just get a pair of golden headphones.
Yo, get a pair of golden headphones.
Yeah, that's what we do. Like, this is your trophy, sir. You're the River City 93 Player of the Year. Ta-da! God. All right. Shanir, you want to start us off with?
Yeah, you sounded excited about this one.
Yeah, I would say I'm giving my 1 point to Ethan Bryant for his performance in the game. Even though pressure was where did it and
Shanir, you almost made an entire podcast without sounding like R2D2.
Oh, yay! Oh, awesome. But at the end of the day, the biggest reason why I'm giving him that 1 point is for that play for the second goal, that line breaking pass that goes all the way through to Stu Ritchie, completely taking practically the entire South Georgia defense out of the game. It was phenomenal and spectacular. So I got to give him the 1 point for that. 2 points for Terzaghi. Even though he's the main guy that South Georgia's defense should be watching, he still is able to create a lot of space for himself. He still makes a nuisance of himself. He's a nightmare to deal with for a defense, which I love so much. 3 points definitely goes to Bolaños. Even after giving up the penalty kick, he literally dominates the rest of the game, an assist and 2 goals. It's got to be 3 points for Bolaños for me.
All right. So you can ultimately forgive the penalty.
Oh yeah.
So you turn to Elliott's side, from you're getting ready to completely savage a player. They're like, oh wait, no, it was you. It's okay.
I mean that for me that would be the case for anybody if they gave up a penalty, and then just completely went beast mode for the rest of the game.
I know.
Be like,
it's a funny full circle moment from the start of the conversation.
I know exactly.
Look, Bolaños can do no wrong in my eyes, okay? 3 years ago, we should have started this podcast. He picked Stanley. I picked Joe to be the breakout player. And I just want to say, for the last 3 years, I have been proven right.
True. I'll give you that.
That's
one.
My guy. I think it's very obvious to know who I'm giving the 3 points to. The guy I just talked about, John Bolaños. 2 points. I will give it to. Oh man, see, 2 points is hard because there's so many people you can give it to. You can go kind of either way. I'll give my 2 to Stu. And the reason I'll give it to Stu is because not only did he have a wonderful assist, I think he did a great job defensively. I will say this. He did a really good job of marking Sterling out of that game when he got out into the wings, which is not an easy task given how Sterling has been playing the past month. So I give that there. And then my 1 point, I'll give it to Akira. Some wonderful saves. And, being patient on the ball, I think that's something that we don't talk about as much out of Akira. I think we talked about it on the podcast previously, but Akira does a great job of having these over-looping balls where you think it's going to go out, and it just ends up on the foot of one of our players, and it plays.
Yeah, if you look at the pass to Ethan.
Yeah, exactly. That pass again.
Under pressure, too.
Right. So I give my 1 point to Akira. I think he did a wonderful job.
All right. Yeah, 3 points is obvious, right? It's got to be Bolaños. I gave my 2 to Ethan Bryant. A little bit what Chenier said, but also, this game, but also I think over the last month or so, we've seen him become a really reliable ball controller in the midfield. Being able to get the ball and dribble out of pressure a little bit, be able to move the ball himself laterally, across the field, and just really be a good outlet, for the defenders, be able to kind of pick up some loose scraps out there and help to get the game reset a lot more. And I thought he did another great job of that on Wednesday as well. So he got 2 points for me, and then I also gave my 1 to Akira. Not only play with the ball at his feet, but when he needed to, he came up with that big save in a big moment. And we've talked about that in the past. Like a lot of his saves, look really ordinary and look like they're stat pattern saves, because he's just in the right spot at the right time. This one is in the right spot at the right time, but he also made it look good too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he did, man, and he makes the team look a lot better. If that's it, guys, I think we're all done for this week's episode. By this time we talk next week, we'll be coming back from a road trip, going into our last 4 games, 2 games at home, 2 games on the road. Will the Kickers still be number 1? We hope so. Probably will be. All right.
Yeah, based on the way they're performing, it's at this point right now, the Kickers are like a freight train going downhill. It's just continued. The momentum. It's going to be very hard to stop the Kickers now. Our momentum is moving forward, and just absolutely, we're kind of like a juggernaut right now.
Right.
And I hope that keeps up. I really hope that keeps up because, boy, is it fun to watch.
We better not be cutting that clip out.
Oh, I hope we're not. Oh, please. I may have jinxed it, but.
Well, let's hope not. All right, y'all. Well, as always, Kicker fans, we will holler at you next week. Be safe, be easy. Make sure to share the podcast with a friend. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.